All right. Let me know if you can't see my screen.
Looks good.
We good? See PowerPoint? Okay. I'm using my dad's laptop, brand new. We'll see how it goes. So, thank you for coming to our thesis reviews. My name's Heather, and I designed Bayside Village, which is an independent senior housing community. So people are now living 11% longer than they did in the 70s, which means that there's going to be a higher population of elderly. So we really wanted to focus on resident well-being and safety. And also we wanted to focus on social interaction and friendship among residents while providing a safe space for the aging population. So that includes things like handrails on the circulation paths, chairs with arms because it's a little bit easier to get up if you have something to hold on to, non-slip flooring, and especially now with COVID, bleach cleanable materials are really important as well. So I chose this project because of my grandmother. It's a little picture of her from like 2 Christmases ago. She helped raise me, and recently the roles have been changing a little bit. She just turned 80. So I go and visit her at her 55 and over community, and I see how things could be improved. She actually just got a shower instead of a tub. I'm very excited to see it next week. And I was able to interview her and her 2 friends last semester for the research phase of this project. So that was really great to get some expert users in my research phase. So my mission statement is to create an interactive, lively, and safe housing option for seniors that offers flexibility no matter how you age in the space. So it's the resident's choice when and if a transition to assisted living is made. Seniors are more likely to enjoy where they live if they have the opportunity to make friends and participate in their community. And Fitwell has a senior housing pilot which takes community health very seriously. So you'll be seeing well, Fitwell, and then universally designed focus in all of my spaces. My client scope is active adults 55 and over. The building has over 70 apartments for living spaces as well as amenity spaces, including library, a wellness center, a full-service restaurant, and a pool. The space will support people with varying physical limitations that come with aging while ensuring a positive and individualistic experience. Wow, that one was very hard, but it's cool. We're going to focus on camaraderie and community throughout the whole design. So I chose Naples, Florida as my site. Florida has always had a high elderly population, and in the last 20 years it has grown substantially. Naples itself is vibrant and active, which is perfect for people who are looking for adventure and relaxation in their retirement. As you can see here, we have a little site diagram that shows where the building is located. There's a lot of green space as well as ponds on site. And then there's a shopping center, 2 banks, and a liquor store because you are just over 55. You know, you still need a liquor store every once in a while. Good to have one around. The building conditions right now, it's occupied by Naples News, which is an office space and industrial printing center for newspapers. It's 180,000 square feet with 2 stories, and the as-built plans were acquired from the real estate website. So as you can see here, the exterior has a lot of green space, stucco, and then the industrial printing and office space below that. So the as-built plans, we are going to demolish everything except plumbing, restrooms, egress, so stairs and elevators, and structural columns. Yeah, to just create a totally different use for this building. My concept for the design is button mushrooms. They grow in a community, just how people thrive in communities. And this concept is also location focused because Florida has one of the biggest agricultural outputs being mushrooms. They also have health benefits, which are beneficial for an aging population. And mushrooms' role within nature is to help create new life, and residents are starting a new stage of their life here at Bayside Village. So we're going to use organic shapes, the scale and pattern, the contrast, and just overall color to use in the space. The party, I really struggled with this one, but Steph helped me immensely. Shout out to Steph. I started with this mushroom sketch study, and she said, you know what, why don't you just go to the grocery store and grab some mushrooms and take some pictures of them? And I did that, and I was really inspired by this photo in the center here. I really liked this radial line inside of the cap, and that translated into my party with it radiating with the lines that are radial and sort of branch out from the center. So here are some inspiration images for my entire project. I really wanted to include radial forms, focal points using line, and a lot of natural tones. So here's my level 1 circulation plan. And this, for those of you who are here for midterms, you've seen this plan before, and it has changed a little bit, but I wanted to show it to sort of explain my thought process and the design process that I went through. So here's our main entry. There's a donut pattern all around the building with residences on the exterior for natural lighting in the living spaces, the wellness center in the back, and then the restaurant in the front. Level 2 has the same donut pattern with open sightlines from each amenity space to the next. So if you're in the business center, you can see your friends in the game room, and maybe you want to go over and say hello. And again, there are residence spaces all around the exterior of the building. There's also going to be an opportunity for walking paths inside because of this donut shape. My focus spaces are my entry and lobby, the residences, the wellness center, and then the indoor-outdoor pool. So these focus spaces promote healthy lifestyles and serve as marketing spaces for Bayside Village to attract future residents. These spaces set the project apart from other senior living communities because it was really important to make it feel more like a resort that you live at instead of a institutional assisted living space. So here is my level 1 floor plan. The colors that show up here, you'll see again to remind you where we are in the building as we go through the presentation. So here's our main entry with the lobby and reception. And if you go on either side of this wall, there are neighborhoods, which you will see later in the presentation, and those just serve as gathering spaces and help sort of delineate space. And then in the back here, here's my mouse. In the back here is the cafe with all the different resident spaces. And then if you move up towards the wellness center in green, you see this whole space here. Again, this donut pattern goes around the building. There is classrooms and spin classes in the back of the wellness center, but those are not part of the focus spaces. So we won't be talking about those too much. And then here towards the exterior of the building is the pool, the interior, and then there is a nano wall that opens so that you can go to the exterior of the pool as well. Level 2 can be accessed by any of the stairwells in the building, as well as the elevators on either side. So there's one here and one here. When you get off of the elevator, most of the second floor is resident living spaces, as well as a game room with an indoor walking path that is for Fitwell. And then here is another neighborhood, library, business center. There's an arts and crafts area and a movie theater in the back. And if you keep going around this pattern, here you'll get to a railing that overlooks down onto the restaurant. And it's a double height ceiling in here. So first things first, we're going to go to the entry. This is where we are. Here is a hand-rendered elevation that I did for midterms, and I have this in here so you can sort of see how the design grew throughout time. So you can enter through either of these doors. And there's a flooring change in here to catch any rain or anything that comes in on your shoes so it's not slippery. There's a seating path in the center with a water feature. If you come in, there's the reception where you can check in, a wet bar, and a visitation room. So if you have an apartment here, but you have some people visiting and you're not entirely sure you want them to travel through the building to get to your apartment, you can always use this space to visit with them. And then on this side, there is more seating as well as an information wall, which you can see here. So here is the water feature that I talked about, the straight lines that lead up to the rounded ceiling feature here, which bring in the concept. And then there are seating options throughout the entry that provide seating for the on-site bus if you need to go to the grocery store or CVS or something. The bus can take you. And this is the information wall that we talked about earlier. So this has information about Fitwell itself to sort of bring in more information to the residents. And then if you have like a club or you want to have like a bingo night or something, you are more than welcome to put flyers up on this bulletin board here. And that will just improve community health and promoting friendship among residents. Okay, let me know if this video is weird. Sometimes it gets weird over Zoom. So we are going to enter the space. There is a ramp. We are going up the stairs. Here you can see the reception as well as lighting fixtures and a dropped ceiling here. These lights delineate where your egress areas are. So this one is the elevator right off of the entry. Okay, so we're moving into our neighborhoods, which is our next focus space. So this serves as a gathering space for any resident that wants to sort of spend time outside of their apartment, with their neighbors. So this seating group here brings in the radial pattern for my concept. And then here is a sketch that I did earlier in the semester, and here's how it translated into the final design. So there's an archway that opens the space, and sort of brings in the concept. There is a tiled barrel ceiling feature with worm cove lighting and a dropped pendant. And then there's, again, seating for a community gathering space in here. The wallpaper on the wall here will delineate which neighborhood you're in. So some people have issues with memory. So okay, I know that I'm in apartment 24 and that's the one with the blue wallpaper. And here's a section cut just showing how the neighborhoods transfer from one floor to another with the same exact pattern and path. There are sidelight windows in here. So my grandmother loves looking outside her front window to see who's in the parking lot, if someone's going up to get their mail, like they they all just want to know what's going on all the time. So there are side light windows in all of the resident living spaces, and they can be turned on or off, so frosted or clear with the touch of a button, because sometimes, you probably don't want people being able to see into your living space. So here, same area, we're going into the living space. You enter here into the kitchen. There's a breakfast bar that is height adjustable. The kitchen, dining table, your living space, and then here, if you go sort of behind this wall, there's your bedroom, bathroom, and then washer dryer. And it was important to have a wall here to create privacy for the bathroom and bedroom. You're seeing the model unit right now. So this is the unit that's furnished and used for tours, but residents will be responsible for bringing all of their own furniture with them. So it was really important to have flexibility in this space. So there's options for grab bars, if you move in and you're 60 and you don't need a grab bar right now, or, maybe you have hip surgery and you're like, a grab bar could be really helpful for me. The structural supports are in there already, and it's an easy fix to have a grab bar put in. There's also under cabinet storage, a combo washer dryer front load, so nobody has to reach up or into anything. This is an example of the breakfast bar setup, so it can either be a regular table height or bar height, depending on your ability. And then each kitchen comes with cabinets that can be lifted down. So if you need them a little bit closer to you or a little bit closer to the countertop, not a problem. So here is the perspective of the resident living space. Residents are encouraged to make the space feel like their home. So again, this model unit is sort of decked out to make it feel like somebody lives here. Pets are welcome. There is plenty of space for a small dining table as well as a full living room. All of the tones are natural and subdued, and the wall and floor colors contrast for ease of visibility. Especially as you age, it can be difficult to see different planes if they're the same tone. So we really wanted to make sure that those were different. All of these QR codes that you can see throughout the presentation will bring you to a panorama of the space. And then this image here is the custom shower in all of the residents' spaces that have a bench, grab bars, and built-in shelving. So this really just shows that it can feel more like a resort or a hotel, and the grab bars don't have to make it look institutional and cold. Okay, so here we're entering the neighborhoods. You can see all of the seating in the center, and then we're going to enter apartment 25 into the living space. This big window here has all of the daylight. And then if we're going to turn around, we can see the coat closet as well as a ledge for balance if you need to hold on to something when you get in or before you leave. And then we have the breakfast bar and full kitchen here as well. Okay. So we're moving into our wellness center, which is our third focus space. Here are some inspiration images of what the space is going to be. So if you enter here, you enter into the salon. There is a privacy panel, so you don't have immediate access to all of the people getting their hair done. There's some storage in the back, as well as a PT and OT room, because that's very important, keeping yourself active. If you move along this way, there are 3 different desks, which will be command. So if you need help with anything, if you need to check in, there's always someone there to help you. And then the locker rooms are in the back with 2 identical restrooms, showers, anything you might need in the gym. There's a juice bar with seating. And then if you keep going to your right, there is a fitness and gym, which has all of your stationary equipment on the perimeter. And then all of your weights and free lifting things in the center to sort of draw you in and create that radial circulation again. This fixture here is Move Strong, featured in this photo. So it's used by people with varying abilities. Some people use it for like American Ninja Warrior stuff, but it's super helpful for physical therapy, and it can be customized and easily changed for a variety of needs. And then there are office spaces in the back behind the gym for the gym manager, salon manager, people like that. So here is the custom Millwork juice bar. So there's an ADA height curved countertop, and there's a dropped ceiling with pendants featuring natural tones that you can see here. And this also provides healthy food and drink options for residents, which ties into Fitwell. Okay, sorry. For some reason, it was not advancing to the next slide. So here you can see the perspective of the fitness area. So the flooring changes can draw people to the center of the room, creating a radial circulation path, which we talked a little bit about before. There's a desk with an attendant to assist the residents if you need help with a piece of equipment, or you might not know how to use an elliptical. We can show you, not a problem. And then this glass wall here can display exercise as well as promote it, so you can see the neighborhood featured in the back. And this is an orthographic drawing of the salon, showing the privacy panel as well as the flooring changes and the wall finish in the back, as well as to create contrast. Okay. So here's our wellness center. We're going to go past the juice bar. And there's a privacy panel here blocking about half of the gym from sight of the rest of the wellness center. If we go down this path here, you can see the Armstrong ceiling tiles, as well as acoustical wall covering, a custom light feature from Light Art. And if you go through this door, it's going to bring us to our next focus space, which is our pool. Awesome. So now that we're in our pool, we are here in our plan. So this is a drawing that I did when I was first sort of figuring out what I wanted the pool to look like. So you can see a ramp here, some folded glass partitions. This is a floor finish plan to differentiate where the decking starts and stops, as well as the pool edge. And it was really important to show contrast in there to make sure that everyone sort of knows where those things are. So here is the pool area interior with seating along the edge. There is a nano wall that can open on both sides, so you can walk through from the interior to the exterior. There is a lift in the back as well as a ramp. And then if you go outside, there is a beach entry here as well as another ramp on the exterior. So this was really important with 2 different ramps and the chairlift. Here's a section cut of the pool surface that we really wanted to show. So here you can see it sort of gradually goes to different levels, and this is because the interior of the pool is used mostly for exercise. So you can see people here doing water aerobics. That would be sort of in this space. And then it gradually gets deeper. So if you wanted to do laps or something, that can be in the deepest areas. But the exterior of the pool is more for lounging and just enjoying the weather because we are in Florida. And then that sort of just gradually goes down as well. And then eventually gets to 6 feet. Okay. So here is the exterior of the pool. The curved lines and texture within the pool sort of solidify the concept. There is a beach entry here. You can see someone sort of sitting about 2 to 3 inches into the water. So there's a variety of ways to enter the pool. And the pool also promotes physical activity and gets people outdoors. So you can see here all of the different lighting options, as well as the RCP. So there's a tiled barrel similar to the neighborhoods, as well as wood beam fixtures with track lighting. And you can sort of see here in the back is the pool house, which we will be going to now. So the pool house is here, can only be accessed from outside. So it has plenty of access to the pool as well as the other outdoor areas. This is a sketch that I did when I was first figuring out what I wanted the pool house to be. So you can sort of see the transition here. So this is the level 1 of the pool house. You enter here. This nano wall would be open when the space is open to be used. There's a central seating island here with 12 seats, and then game tables, as well as a small kitchenette in the back. So if you wanted to bring your lunch out with you, you definitely can. There is 2 restrooms here that are accessed from the outside. So if you're playing tennis or something, you don't have to walk inside to use the restroom. There's one here for you. And then towards the back of the space, there are stairs and an elevator to go up to the 2nd level. Okay. So the 2nd level of the pool house, you enter the 2nd level through either the stairs or the elevator. There are more game tables, as well as a pool and ping pong table. Another kitchenette mirrored up here. And then here you can see the curved window with seating that overlooks the property. There are restrooms on the 2nd floor as well. So stacked on top of the restrooms below, but obviously flipped, so they can be accessed from the inside. And then there are game tables to provide conversation starters and promote camaraderie among the residents. So here is sort of our last walkthrough to bring you into the space. It is now nighttime. We have gone through the rest of the building. Here you can sort of see the pool decking and the pool edge are contrasting. Here's the first ramp and some outdoor seating for the restaurant that's featured on this side of the building. The exterior of the pool features a lot of lounge seating, as well as some tables and chairs because lounge seats are not comfortable for everyone. There are pickleball courts and tennis courts. The way to enter the pool house is to go around the building a little bit. So you can see the interior of the pool as we walk by. A variety of seating. So if you're waiting to use the tennis courts or you want to see your friends play, not a problem. And then here we're going to get a nighttime view of the first and second level of the pool house. Okay, so that was Bayside Village, and I want to give a special thanks to my thesis advisors, Rose, Stephanie, and Abby, as well as Laura, and my grandmother. Her name is Rita, and I can't wait to show her all of the work that I've done. Thank you. Does anyone have any questions?
Thank you, Heather. I know, I see everyone sort of motioning and clapping. Why don't you go, oh, I was gonna say you could go to a stack view, but
yeah, I will. Give me one sec. I just
okay.
couldn't see you guys for some reason.
That's okay. I'm gonna naturally go to your external thesis advisor first. So we'll start with Laura, so she can have some input since she worked with you so closely.
Heather, you did a great job. I'm so excited to see it all come together. I feel like it's been so long doing this, you know, every few weeks and then every week, and you've just come so far and you have worked so hard to get where you are. And I remember myself being in thesis for undergrad and then graduate, and it kind of took me back a little bit to when I went through it. And you should be very, very proud of what you've done. So your presentation, I think, was great. A lot of progress from midterms. Heather, can you hear me?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, sorry, I couldn't see you and your screen's like spinning.
Oh, wait. Okay.
There
You let me know if you need to see the PowerPoint and I'll bring it back.
Perfect. Perfect.
Just wanted to make sure you could hear it. Yeah. So what I love is that you used those little icons throughout your presentation to show like how your concept goes throughout your entire building and how it relates to Fitwell and your other you know, accreditations and what you were striving to achieve for those. And I love how you pointed that out as you walked through. I think the whole thing was great from a you know, a senior living perspective. I think it's a really great community for 55 and over independent living, which is what you were shooting for. You have some really great ideas and design elements. And overall, I'm thrilled with it. I think you did a great job.
Thanks, Laura. Couldn't have done it without you.
Thanks.
Great. Anybody else? Paul, I think you're getting ready. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I agree, Laura, some good comments. I think that a lot of it looked really great. I think one thing I would suggest or encourage is that you have all of these great spaces and they all did come together really nicely. And I think one thing that is really nice about them right now is that they all came together and they all do fit together as well as one big system too. So you had them broken down, and I think your presentation was very clear and very to the point, and it was very nicely done. But I actually think you could add a slide or two at the end that showed all of your spaces like kind of together, because one thing that you kind of didn't give yourself credit for was how awesome they looked together, not just individually one at a time. So like some kind of overview or something, I think, because you'd had a lot of the same kind of tones and qualities, you know, that you pointed out in each space individually. And it does, you know, say something that they all go together as well. They go together as one big working project.
Thanks.
I would say one thing I would maybe encourage, or I think you had like little bits of it, and I just want to push you to maybe be like a little bit more ambitious about it, is that this idea of your concept, which is clear and it comes through in a bunch of different places, I think it could come through a little bit more in some places. So you had like in the fitness center, for example, you had like that curved linear light fixture above, and that, like, you know, you pointed it out, it screams organic and it screams like the way you're talking about your concept. but then the floor was like a perfect square and the walls were all square and everything was square around it. And so I'm kind of thinking like, what if that floor pattern on the floor change matched that curve, or was like that fitness center wanted to be like, in your overall plan, your building is what you were given and it's not curved on the outside, right? But that fitness center doesn't have to be a perfect rectangle, right? So like this idea of your organic, your manipulation to that architecture could be that you could soften some of those walls and curve some things and really let like which I think was a really great concept, and clearly interjected into everything you did. It could have come through, like it could have been celebrated even that much more. I think it was really good.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Anybody else? Oh, I think Taylor's getting ready.
Yeah, just a few quick notes. Heather, awesome job. I mean, I feel like the transition from a board presentation to a PowerPoint or a slideshow presentation is, you did really, really great. It's really hard to break up a presentation that way. And it flowed together really well. And, as a viewer, I could see where you were going next, and I could understand where you wanted me to be looking. And it just made a lot of sense, which is tough when you're breaking up a presentation that's supposed to be, one piece into a couple different. And I love that you included your process drawings, including those sketches that this is what I was thinking of originally, and this is what it transitioned into. It's just really helpful for us to see your design process and kind of understand where you're coming from and how you made those decisions. And I think that was a really great, great design choice.
Thanks.
Great. Anybody else? Steph, are you going to remain quiet?
I'm going. I just don't take up too much time. No, it was really well organized. I may have seen it, so I've already commented a little bit to Heather on this, but I think one thing that stands out to me about your project is the extensive space planning that went into it. You didn't just focus on your focus areas. You actually considered the entire building, how everything worked together, and furnished many parts of it. So that's my really well done thing. The one critique would be, I think that you had some beautiful FF&E in your presentation, but we never heard about it. So I kept saying what about indoor air quality or cleanability or slip resistance? I'm sure, knowing you and how meticulous you are, that you thought through some of that. I would have loved if you told us a little bit more about the characteristics and qualities of some of your FF&E, but visually it looked really nice. Like Paul said, everything looked really cohesive. So I think just knowing a little bit more about them, but like I said, it's just, you put tons of work in, and it really showed in the way that you put together this extremely well organized presentation.
Thanks.
Yeah, good job, Heather. I had a lot of fun looking at the QR codes when you were doing it. I was checking those out. And
good, I'm happy they worked.
They worked. I checked them all out. And I didn't know if they were going to work digitally with my phone on it, but it did, technology, the wonders. I really enjoyed how you were able to take a space from a personal viewpoint, an ethnographic study of your grandmother, and then bring it to a application that is so relevant today. And with the research that you look at Naples, Florida, but then touching on the fit well, the well-being, the mobility and life longevity that we're looking at in today's society, I feel that it's an extremely relevant topic, but how you executed the design, I thought you did an excellent job with that, and the focus areas that you opted to focus on. It's your decision as the student what ones you're going to take, but I like that you did the personal, a room, and then the public spaces, and that shows the variety of this type of space. Sometimes, and I won't get hokey now or go back, but I love to bring up your Studio One drawings, but I won't. But I do remember Studio One because you were the last group, you were in your freshman year, before we left Mount Ida. And I do remember, having you as Studio One and seeing the transformation. It's just unbelievable, the progression and everything you've been able to do. So congratulations on a job well done.
Thanks, Rose.
Sure. Anybody else before we move on? All right, good job, Heather. You are done. And now we're going to go to Jill. And I think I saw Grace sneak in. There she is. Hey, Grace. We're congratulating you, even though you weren't in yet, on getting your MBA this weekend. Congratulations.
Congrats, Grace.
Thank you.
Is it in presentation mode? Okay. I'm Jill, and this is Behind the Bloom, and it's inclusive design approaches for mental health facilities. And I want to start off by saying thank you to Rose and Grace for being my advisors, and also to a couple of my friends whose artwork I was able to include in this project that you'll get to see later on. So the negative stigma toward mental health is always decreasing, but there is a lot of people that still do not choose to seek help. And mental health is something that's affected me as well as a lot of people that I'm close to. And I've kind of taken the time to realize that when you reach out for help with your mental health, it doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you and it's not something that you should be ashamed of. It's just that you're trying to better yourself and your well-being. And this building is supposed to serve as a multifunctional center that uses unconventional types of therapy. The site location is in Reno, Nevada. And the reason that Nevada was chosen is because it has the highest prevalence of mental illness with the lowest access to care. So the existing use of the building was actually a restaurant. So as you can see, there's a lot of larger open spaces. So those walls are all going to be demoed in order to create smaller private areas for the counseling center. And the concept for the counseling center is Helboris niger, and it's also referred to as the Christmas rose. And the reason that this flower was chosen is because just from looking at it, you cannot tell that it's actually a poisonous flower. So I think that that relates a lot to mental health because you can never see what's going inside of someone. And although it may be dark, you're not judging them based on what's inside. You're just seeing them from what's on the outside. And the parti is all of the parts of the origami flower put together, and they represent the mind and body as a whole. So when you enter the first floor, you're greeted by the receptionist, and there's a lot of socially distant seating that uses glass partitions. There's also restrooms. And making your way further down the hallway, you'll pass the individual counseling spaces as well as some private offices. And the reason that the offices are separate from the counseling spaces is so that the counseling spaces can actually double as private rooms when they're not being used. So if you need to step away from a group session or something and just get some privacy, you can go in there as long as they're empty. And then making your way further down, there is another exit as well as the dining and event space that coincides with the kitchen. And then you go into the yoga and meditation room, which there is another exit from as well. And making your way up to the second floor, you go right into the group counseling space. And there is 2 private offices up there, as well as an emergency exit. And there's access to the rooftop counseling space. The concept and parties stand out the most in the reception space because of the custom glass elevator. It's the central focal point of the building, and it's meant to represent the center of the rose. And this is a video that shows how the parts of the party were used to construct the 3D building. The reception has a custom desk as well as seating, which has glass partitions in front of or next to them so that it goes with COVID regulations, and the reception desk has glass as well. So in this perspective, you can see the reception as well as the custom desk, and you can start to get a look at the paintings on the wall as well as the glass elevator in the center. So in the perspective on the top left, you get a better look at the art on the wall, and I chose to use all of the art by Georgia O'Keeffe. And the reason that I did that was because she was an artist who was affected by mental illness, and she was still able to paint beautiful floral pieces despite her illness. And on the bottom right, there's an example of what the green wall will be, and it's reindeer moss used to emphasize the sustainability aspect. And you guys can use your phones to scan the QR codes, and there will be 2 more later on in the presentation as well. So continuing up the stairs, you enter the group counseling space. And this is a space that I really wanted to take in a unique approach to, making it comfortable to sit and talk without that pressure of kind of everyone's eyes on you. So I decided to do that by adding swings as well as all steel's rise seating. So you can see that rise seating in this perspective, and it kind of creates a stadium type seating, allowing patients to still converse, but not kind of be sitting in that stereotypical circle setting where you're all looking across the room at each other. And this is the patient artwork room. So all of the patients in the center have the opportunity to create art, and they're able to hang it up on the walls. And then on the right, you can see that there's a Post-it wall, and that's all patients' positive thoughts and comments to each other. And this perspective is showing the partee hung up on the wall to kind of subtly show that this is how the center was created and what it's about, while also showing that the partee is a work of art as well. So in the outdoor counseling space, there is several socially distant seating groups as well as a central seating group, and they're all covered by umbrellas and sails in order to promote comfort for everyone. In this perspective, you kind of get to look a little bit at everything, and you can see that there's also some lighting so that at any point during the day, people can be out there. In this perspective, it's a different angle. And on the side, I kind of just added some of the materials that were chosen to do on the exterior of the actual building. And then this is a short walkthrough of the whole space starting in the reception. And the building is well certified, and a lot of features that I've discussed previously, including the stair art gallery, which help with the fitness aspect, the accessibility and usability of the space go with comfort, and then that rooftop area goes with nourishment. Thank you for listening. Any questions or comments?
Thank you, Jill. Why don't you put it on a slide deck if that works for you? I know we're having some issues. And then we can open it up for comments and feedback. And why don't we go with Grace, and she was your external advisor. Sorry, Grace, I'll put you on the start, but it seems like a logical way to start.
No worries. First of all, Jill, I think you did a great job and a great presentation. I think that the space was really well thought out, and I appreciate that it like while alternative therapies are getting more popular and stuff, I think they're trying to fit them into spaces that were once conventional therapies. So it's really nice to see like this fun, thought out, it kind of is like a little clubhousey, but in a good way, where like, can you go to your group counseling space? That's my favorite one. But I love this because it makes me think of like, just like hang out with friends in that space. And I think seating is a huge part of feeling comfortable when you are talking to someone, whether it's in a group or individually. And I think that this space just like really allows you to open up, and you can, you know, sit in the corner if you want to sit back a little more. You can sit on a swing if you need to be moved. It just like takes into consideration a lot of different personalities and what makes other people comfortable. And I just like love that you thought about that. And I also love the patient artwork because I think that's just so fun to see everyone else's stuff and like get ideas and everything. And then I really like the outdoor space as well as the waiting area where you thought about COVID regulations and stuff, because like as frustrating as that might have been to think about, it's really cool to see, because hopefully, you know, when we get past all this, it's not going to change the design of your space. Like you incorporated it really well where it can kind of like come and go, you know, hopefully go forever, but thank you. And I think, sorry, I'm trying to figure out what slide. Can you go back to the outside one?
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, I like this because like I said about the seating, I think it's really cool, you know, like I'd love to go up there and have a chat with the therapist instead of like in an office. Like I think it's just really great that you thought about all these alternatives, and I wish that you could have shown every single space, because I think that I know that you did a lot of research into alternative therapies such as cooking and stuff. So I wish we could have had forever to show all that, but it's there. I know you thought about it, and I know that you did a lot of research. So yeah, it's great.
Great. Thank you. Anyone else? Oh, I think Paul's getting ready. Go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, I second what Grace said. I think that the two spaces, the rooftop and the group counseling spaces, were clearly the ones that you really dove into. Like I think what's really great / important is that you really looked at the way people interact with those spaces. Like you thought about how every individual might sit on this or sit on that or be in this space or that space, and how they relate to the walls and the art. And it was kind of really thorough and great. So I would love to see that kind of energy in that downstairs space a little bit in that first part, right? Because that space had the green wall, which was kind of interesting, but not really sure how people like really interact. Like maybe that wraps around more and starts to enclose people in a seating area or something. So like if we could imagine, like I think we didn't have to imagine the rooftop or the group counseling because you figured it all out for us. So focusing on that downstairs would be kind of in a similar way would be helpful. And I really like the idea of this glass elevator and being like this like kind of physical manifestation of the concept of the rows and this, and so the stair rotating around it and stuff. And I think that's really great. I kind of wish there was some way that manifested into like maybe an array of radial offices and privacy rooms or something, like some way that like the rest of the organization of that building can build off of that, like really, I think, kind of awesome, interesting first move that you talked about. And then how could that kind of ripple through the rest of it, I think would be. But it was a great first step in that with that glass elevator there. And so it was a really kind of, really strong point to start with and has a lot of potential. So
Thank
nice
you.
job.
Right. Anyone else? Any other comments?
I have a couple comments.
Great.
So I just wanted to say how much I love your overall concept. And you see that throughout your entire project. So it's in the name. You did, your floor plan has to do with, that rose and how it radiates. And the whole concept of the Christmas rose being a poisonous flower, but you don't really know it is. I think that ties into, you know, your mental health facilities really, really well. I think your outdoor concept space is really, really clever, and really appropriate. And just tying into what Grace said as well, I love how you adapted like a typical format of mental health counseling, and you kind of made it new and different and interesting, and really took into consideration what people need and how people function, whether it's in a group setting or individually. And I think you put a lot of thought into the whole thing, and I really liked it.
Thank you. I'll go ahead. Great job, Jill. I think some of the strengths of your presentation, which were already mentioned, are your process. I thought you had a really good process, use of party and concept that we can really see in your final design. I thought integrating the artwork just made it feel very realistic and sort of tied into, again, like bringing the patient experience into that space and sort of engaging with them more. And then I thought the swings were a clever idea and a nice way to not just create like a fun aspect in the space, but just like swinging is like a comforting motion for some people, or some people just need to move. They can't just sort of sit still, especially when they're having maybe uncomfortable conversations. So I think that was so smart. My little critique of it would be maybe some flooring changes on the first floor could help with that design and make it a little more dynamic, maybe even using some soft flooring. You use some, you know, soft surface on the wall, but I think on the floor that may have helped that space and define some zones there. And a few places I thought maybe it may have been more effective to design something a custom built in. I think it was in the lobby. There was like a couch on a curved area, but I thought, why not just have like a cool built-in curved bench or some storage? I think that was like a chosen piece. Like I love when you just kind of make it your own. And I think that's very common in the design process. So I think customizing a few of those areas. But again, that I love that final view too in your presentation. I don't know, I thought it was so strong to kind of pull back and see the whole space. So I think it was really well done visually to understand the time and effort you put into it. Thank you.
All right. Hey, Jill, I think that's it. Overall, I think you did a great job. Clearly, you know, I had a lot of fun working with you, but I love that you were so committed to this from the very beginning, from your own personal viewpoint, but then incorporating the research and thinking a little bit outside of the box. I would encourage you to push the envelope here and celebrate areas that you're asking people to rethink how this practice should occur and what we should be doing from a viewpoint in the profession that maybe clinical spaces need to take a second look. And I know that a lot of therapies, you and I have explored this, have changed since COVID because we've been forced to. You can't come inside, but as people maybe come back to clinical spaces, I would hope that they would incorporate some of the ideas that you have proposed in here. Good job. You're welcome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. And you know, I see Abby here and she's so quiet. And you know what? She is our Revit queen. Without Abby as part of the thesis team, I know she's like dying.
A little rusty, Rose.
No. She has been on call 24/7, has answered all of the students and colleagues' responses, and has been really wonderful to be part of this group. So I just wanted to do a shout out because you came in a little late when we did introductions.
Yeah, sorry everyone. Thanks, Rose. I'm happy to, I know how hard this is for everyone during COVID and working at your parents' house or working wherever, and working at a job. So I commend all of you for all your hard work and commitment. It's not easy during this time. So excellent job. And all the renderings and walkthroughs look amazing so far. I'm very happy.
Well, that's under your supervision. Thank you, Abby.
Yeah, they pushed through it. It's hard. Not having the school computers and your own laptop stinks. I understand. So
Yeah, yeah, there's been plenty of hiccups along the way, but hey, you can see so far the problem solving, we've been working through it.
yeah, that was great.
Rebecca, you ready?
Ready. Um, all right, so my name is Rebecca and my project is Under Our Wing. This is an LGBTQ youth homeless shelter designed in San Antonio, Texas. Before I start, I'd just like to say thank you to not only my external advisor, Lauren, but also Abby. Like Rose just said, she helped a lot with the Revit stuff, especially being, not in a traditional classroom setting. So big thanks to both of them. We'll start off with some background and the client. So like I said, it's an LGBTQ youth homeless shelter, and the reason why it's focused on both of those areas you can see in these statistics that are shown here. LGBTQ youth are at a much higher risk of homelessness and also danger while being homeless. Especially during COVID, I was scrolling on social media and just seeing people reach out being like, I've recently become homeless because I'm home all the time with my parents and they don't accept me and they've kicked me out. Can you help? And that's really what motivated me to have this be my thesis project and my focus. Along the bottom, you can see all the different types of flags that are represented in the LGBTQ community, along with a lot of other sexualities and genders, because that's very fluid. So I wanted to make sure that inclusivity was really important in this project as well. And because this is a homeless shelter, it will not only have residents, for transitional or more semi-permanent housing, but also has a drop-in center, which was part of precedent studies that I did, which offers, off the street help for resources, laundry, showering, stuff like that, which is really important. So my site, like I mentioned, is San Antonio, Texas. I chose this because, as you can see in this map right here, all of these orange dots represent a certain number of homeless youth students. And so San Antonio, Texas had one of the largest amount of homeless students, as well as the least amount of LGBT or youth-specific homeless shelters to begin with. So that's why I chose to put it in San Antonio, Texas. You can see a little bit about my site. It's right along the San Antonio River, which is great for, having access to the outdoors, as well as a bunch of outdoor plazas, as it's in the downtown area, which helps for not only improving education, but also for future jobs. And, once they get back on their feet and spread their wings, they can get back into the local community. So the problem, like I've mentioned, a lot of youth are experiencing homelessness at a higher rate, especially than those who are cisgender and heterosexual. So I use this chart to kind of work through what the problem was and then how I wanted to fix that. And a lot of it came around the idea of safety and security and care and access to resources, which are all things that are unstable in a homeless circumstance. So moving on to my concept, as you can probably get an idea of from the name, Under Our Wing, I chose to focus on a nest and a sanctuary kind of feeling for my concept. And this derived from the idea that, when you're homeless, you lose that physical place that you can call home. And while there are other things that you can determine as being home, something that physically you can have safety there, something that I really want to make sure was included in this project. So I went from the word home and I found the word nest, and then you can see all of these images that inspired me, as well as my party diagram, which you can see is really about the encompassment. So when you're in a nest, you're protected, the babies are protected and nurtured until they're strong enough to go back out on their own, which is basically exactly what I want this homeless shelter to be. I want these youth to be able to be brought in, nurtured in this nest environment and then able to go out and spread their wings and be better and you know, have a better future. You can see some of my branding and precedent studies research. I really took knowledge from all the precedent studies that I did, which directly related into my programming. And then you can see the concept for under our wing. This feeling of encompassment comes back even in these pictures where the mother bird is protecting their young. And then focus spaces based directly off of the precedent studies resource list. I chose to do what I'm deeming the as the nest, which is the dining and gathering space, which is basically a big community space. The drop-in resource center, which is open for the public, and then resident rooms. This project focuses on wells, so as you can see, there's a lot of things listed here, and not all of these will be touched on in the program, in the project specifically, but all of these things are things that the project would focus on. And I actually did the math, and if all of these things were achieved, my project would be well platinum, which is really exciting. So yeah, those will be incorporated throughout the project as well. You'll see them. As for the existing building, there were no floor plans, and the building is 5 floors and a basement, so it's a pretty large footprint, and it's currently a mixed-use building, so it had a little bit of everything. It had a restaurant, had office space, had some apartments. So basically the entire thing was gut because I didn't want to have to work around all these little individual rooms that got changed over time, and I just wanted to have a clean slate for to be the best for the youth that will be using the space. The only thing that stayed is the columns. So the columns are existing as well. Moving into the lower level, as you can see, it's a large open space. A lot of the amenities are on this floor as well as some of the back of house. You have a game room and lounge. And the reason why this is down here is so the loud areas, because this will be more of a lively area, can have some more acoustics, and the more quiet areas can be on the taller levels. There's also a gym and workout classes, rooms, a laundry facility, and then some back of house and storage. You can see some of the well things that I've listed on the side, which include the opportunity for physical fitness and the use of acoustical paneling, as well as air filtration in the space. Because it is a basement, it is very important that this level has better air filtration. Moving on to the first floor, you can see some of my process for a few of my focus spaces, which will go more in depth later. The entrance remained the same, and you come into a lobby space with gender-neutral ADA accessible bathrooms. The drop-in center is right off the entrance, so it's easily accessible. And then further into the space is that nest dining gathering space. Also on this floor is a physical health support with access directly to the outside. So if, God forbid, there was a situation where you were really hurt, you could come directly in instead of having to walk all the way through the lobby. So it's more of a private space. And then there's some staff area as well as a kitchen for the dining area to provide food for not only the residents, but also the people coming in from the public. So the second floor is what I'm calling the public quiet floor. So this is all spaces that will be open to the public. So mental health support for LGBTQ youth that might not be living here, but need to talk to someone, as well as case management, which was brought up in all of the precedent studies that I did. A computer lab for those who may not have a laptop, but they need to get some schoolwork done, or they need to look for a job. They have access to that. As well as a quiet area, so a lounge space that has direct access to the existing outdoor patio, and an event space for any if they want to throw birthday parties or any events promoting community, they can do that here as well. And then there are also some smaller therapy rooms and a group therapy room to be used as needed. The third and fourth floor are the resident floors. And so they are the exact same layout. They just have different allocation of age. Because the age range is between 16 and 26, I want to make sure that people were comfortable, living. So they each have their own little area. So 16 to 18 is living in these two nests here. So this is a nest, and then this is a nest. And then 19 to 20 is in these areas. So these nests not only promote community, but also bring that feeling of encompassment. Your own little community in here. You each have space to live as well as gather as a community, and then there's also access to a bathroom. There are 3 types of rooms. So there's an ADA single, a double room, and then a regular single. And all of those are mixed in so that there's no exclusion. Each nest has an ADA single at least. Like I just said, same floor plan layout. The only changes you can note down here are the way that the ages are split up, just to make sure that everyone is comfortable and there's no, people who are under the age of 18 don't necessarily have to live on the same floor as someone who's 26, and they can have more privacy that way. Finally, the 5th floor is not a full floor. It's an addition that was added on, but it had this really nice wall that was an existing curtain wall. So I thought I would turn that into a greenhouse area so they can have another way to, kind of relax and, have some mindfulness, as well as there also being a yoga meditation lounge up here. And then this is an existing rooftop patio that they also have access to. Egress staircases, as noted, this was originally a patio, but it turned into an egress stair. In the existing building, it was just like a ladder outside, so we made sure to make sure that all of the egress was up to code and inside the building. Here you can see the nest area, which is the dining space. It has all of these different types of seating, so you can, feel comfortable with whatever you want to choose. If you would like to be more private, you can go into these little booths. If you want to sit and chat with some friends in the open, have more conversation, you can sit in these more loungy chairs. There's some more bigger tables for if you're eating. There's some banquet seating, so you pretty much have whatever you want. Some days you're open to talk and some days you're not, so you can have that choice. As well as over here in this corner, I really wanted to incorporate these egg chairs because, that feeling of encompassment again, having that. So there are some of those down here in this more private corner. So this is a perspective view of that same space. You can see all the different types of seating. The way that the nest also comes into play here is to play on textures and color. Obviously, a nest is made up of a bunch of different materials. The birds kind of collect things and make sure that it's the best for their young. So that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to play with material and texture here, as well as using natural colors because, birds' nests usually are a mixture of browns and greens, just because that's what's in nature. And also there are QR codes for panoramas, so you can feel free to look through those as well throughout the project. And this is that little private corner with these nest egg chairs. They just are in this little corner, so you can have some, privacy if you want to read, or you can sit and chat. There's this TV here, which could either play shows or have some events coming up showcased there. Moving into the drop-in and resource center, this is kind of a mixed-use space. Because it is going to be used by the public for a variety of different reasons, as well as the residents can use this. So the drop-in resource center, when I was doing precedent studies, had a focus on providing resources to those who a lot of cases these centers fill up really fast, and they can't afford to have any more residents, so they still want to provide to the community by giving meals and allowing for showers and other resources like that. So you can come in here and you can talk to the receptionist, and she'll, if you need some food, you can get food from either the dining hall or there's perishable foods. And then you can move further into the space, and there's this locker area, which provides a space for those who are coming to maybe shower or use the laundry facilities to have a space to keep their stuff like secure. And then this door would lead into the shower area, so that's directly adjacent. Moving further into this space, there's more of a small lounge. If you weren't comfortable, sitting out with the dining area, you can sit here. There's a TV that will give information and resources so that you're aware of any events happening in the community or at this location. Further in here, there's an even more private space, which features something that I researched, which are like little nap pods, because often when you're homeless, it's really hard to have a good night's sleep because you're always on edge. So, if you wanted to come in, just have a little quick nap, you can have some privacy, close the curtain, and have a little bit of a quieter space to do that, as well as another small seating group in the back. Here's a look at the seating as well as the locker area. So there's a counter, and then I wanted to make sure that the lockers were low enough height so you didn't have to, they're accessible for wheelchairs and those of shorter stature as well without any hassle. You can also see in this view that there are ADA accessible filtered water bottle refilling stations because, if you have a reusable water bottle, you can pretty much have an unlimited water as long as you have the source for it. You don't have to pay for the water from something like this. So this is a really good resource that I wanted to include in these areas. There's also 2 located in the dining area, which you didn't see, and 1 in each of the residents' community little areas. Here's another view of this space at sunset. So you can see the light comes in really nicely, more of these egg chairs as well. And then this panorama shows that back space, which is a little tight for a perspective, but just perfect for a little bit of a panorama view of that little private space. Finally, we move into the residence rooms. This area, as you can see, this is an entire nest in its encompassment. So it has a little area for all of the rooms to come out and sit together. This is one of those water bottle refilling stations. It has an ADA accessible restroom. This is an ADA single. You have a double and a regular single. Each room comes with a closet, a bed, and a desk and a chair, as well as a little lounge area, so you don't always have to be back and forth between your desk and your chair if you want somewhere else to sit. The existing building has massive windows, which is really nice for these resident rooms. It's a lot of natural light, which promotes healthy living because you can, see outside, you can see the nature as well, especially being right against the river. And then, like I said, there are 3 different types of rooms, and the bed frames are custom. So because this is sort of a mix between a temporary and a more long-term living situation, I wanted there to be able to be some sort of personalization. If you had, a letter to pin up or some photos, you could do that in this headboard, which has functions as a cork board, but also, you're able to take that down as well and as it transitions between users. And there's also storage space both in the closet, the nightstands, as well as the desk for anything that they might have if they're in school or work. And that concludes my presentation. So thank you for walking through Under Our Wing with me. And here are the QR codes if you'd like to take a look one last time.
Great. Thank you so much, Rebecca. My view is off a little. Wait a minute. I was in speaker view. Okay. Why don't we start with Lauren, since she was your external thesis advisor.
Sure. Great job, Rebecca. It's really great to see how far you have come with your thesis. I'm honestly not surprised at how well you did, because throughout my time with you, I never felt that you needed any help from me, because you clearly had a lot of research to back up your thesis. I really loved your presentation, especially the logo. I feel like the logo stands out so much, and I love how it incorporates your concept. So for your presentation, it is really easy to see why you chose your topic because you're very passionate about it. I feel like your passion is translated through in every one of your slides. You thought so much about the user and how they would feel entering the space and how they interacted with the furniture and with each other. And I like how you took the existing floor plan and used it to your advantage. And so you selected amenities for those areas that had a lot of daylighting and window views. And I also thought that every one of your focus spaces was really well thought out in the way that you laid out your furniture. My favorite space out of your thesis would have to be the nest on the first level. I really love how this space brings out so many different functions and how it brings it all together from lounging to dining to working to really anything. And the 3D floor plans in your presentation were great, and they were really helpful in helping us understand what exactly was happening in each space. And I really loved your residential units and how they were organized into nests. And it reminds me kind of the dorm suites at Bel-Ega. And I think that was really great to do here because the suites are really helpful in getting your neighbors together and like getting to know each other. And it kind of further promotes that community concept that you were going for. All in all, you did an amazing job, and I'm very proud of you.
Thank you.
Great, thank you, Lauren. And I'm sure you had a lot to say and input, I think, but I do agree, we're extremely self-motivated.
I'll chime in because I go second, apparently. I do think that, first of all, a great job. It all came together really nicely. I completely buy it. Like, I think you have, like the way you use the word nest instead of suite or any other word, it's like you totally, you know, it's there. It's all there from get-go. And I think it's great. So I think you're planning the little planning diagrams with all the different nests. As soon as I saw that and saw you start talking about the nests and stuff, I was sold. I mean, it was really kind of nice. The idea coming through in that kind of simple planning thing, but then all the way down to all the like ceiling elements and the wall screens and stuff, just great. It's just, so I thought that was really successful. I think the idea of the nest and all these different things coming together, like it works for you in terms of a kind of a literal thing. You had sticks and things like that, you know, kind of the patterns and things, but it kind of like works on this huge level too. Like this is a building where all different kinds of people are coming together, right? And they're all coming to be encompassed by what you're talking about. And I think it came across really, really great that it was all coming together, kind of all these different levels, from like the simple material you chose to like the big idea that's around the whole project. So I thought that was really great. I think one of the things that was really, you didn't really talk about it a ton, but it was clearly there. And I thought it was kind of awesome that you had all these different kinds of furniture and different kinds of seating arrangements and different kinds of things to accommodate all different kinds of scenarios and things. But I thought what was really great was that some of those were permanent and those were, you know, somewhat not going to move, right? But then there was big areas that were not permanent. And I think that it had a nod to this idea that you need to be able to change. Everyone needs to be able to accept or change or allow things, expect to be flexible, expect things to change for all different kinds of scenarios, different types of people, different groups of people at different times, you know, how you're going to, you know, I think that the way you chose like the individual womb chairs and the other chairs that were like, they had your little look of like encompassing, it was like perfectly, you know, chosen furniture. But then also the fact that like you had areas that I could just imagine completely being rearranged when it needed to be, or if it needed to be. And I thought that was really kind of a nice touch, because you were kind of saying that like, we're not going to assume that this is how you need to have this space. We're going to allow you guys to use the space, or allow the people here to have a space that they can make their own and personalize. You use the word personalization, and I think that was a great touch to kind of have that kind of embedded in all the decisions you were making. So I thought it was really thorough, and I thought it was a really successful project. Nice job.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Oh, Stephanie, I see her getting ready. Go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to comment. I thought this was really amazing, Rebecca. It was extremely thoughtful. I mean, I've seen many of your projects, so I'm not surprised at how meticulous you were in making decisions in the process. But having not seen your thesis before, it was really, I don't know, I found it really exciting. Like each time you turned a slide, there was like a new little tidbit to uncover about like your process. Like every aspect. I liked some of your flooring changes, wall dividers, like you kept pointing out all these little details that, again, I'm glad that you pointed them out, because it's clear that, again, you had a very in-depth thought process in your design, and you made sure to share all of that with us in the way that you presented, which was great. So again, really well done in the amount of detail, and just, again, like everything looked so nice together. All of those spaces collectively, I think, just worked really well.
Thank you.
I just want to say one thing more, because Stephanie made me think of it, and I thought that was a great comment. It's like the wall dividers, they had, you were very thorough, right? Like Stephanie said, everything you picked out was there on a purpose, and it was really meaningful. But I was just thinking, like, as I saw it all, that maybe a way to kind of show that it could be different is just to say, like, and I don't think I would change what you have. I think I would just say, take the screens and the floors, for example, and then in one room, maybe the floor gets the darker wood and the screens get the lighter wood. And this idea that, like, that one thing can be different in a different space, and that's okay. Like, it's a different material, and like it goes right to your big concept, right? That you're allowing all these different people to come here, all different walks of life, and so, like, this idea that the screens could be the same screen, maybe, but maybe a different shade of wood or something that, like, still works with your overall system. But this idea that it's okay to be different in that room or this room or that room and use it differently. But kind of, I think the strength of your system needs to stay there. So don't, like, dramatically change anything, or don't lose the strength of all the decisions you already made, but to kind of push it a little bit.
Thank you.
Right, I agree, Rebecca. It's been so fun to see you evolve as a thinker. I know that your written word, you feel, is very strong, and it is strong. I love that you incorporated that throughout your process, and it helped you evolve. I know you were struggling with your partie, and it just made me laugh seeing how strong it is now. So yes, you struggled with it, but once you conquered that, you embodied it throughout everything. And I love the comment that Paul just made, how you can just make subtle changes, but yet keep the structure and keep that integrity. I think that's such a great layer, another layer of information for you. I really want this project to happen for real. Because it's so important, and you're so passionate about it. And I remember reading all of your research. So I think maybe we should start, and I will help you, go to nonprofits or see who we can circulate this to and just get it out there, because it's such a beautiful project for such an important population that that desperately needs this attention and love. And so thank you for everything that you did and commit to this.
Thank you. I'm glad that I can, do something that I'm passionate about that's also important.
Yep. I hope whoever hires you will hire you and say, we're hiring you for this project because we're going to help you make it happen too. So that's going to be a mission. Good job. Congratulations. Yay. All right. Isaac. I see Isaac smiling. Okay, he's ready.
Hi, so can you guys see this okay? Okay. So hi, my name is Isaac and welcome to Palms by the Sea, which is a rehab aquarium. So a little bit about the background project. The targeted clients are going to focus on families with small children, those who have interest in marine wildlife, and people who are activists for animals within the space or just in overall. My clients will benefit throughout the experience at Palms by the Sea, because each enclosure will have a little bit of information or fun facts of each animal, providing them the learning experience. So the reason why I chose this for my thesis was because after thorough research, it really caught my attention. And I've always been an animal person, whether if it was land or sea animals. So growing up, I wanted to be a marine biologist, but of course, when I got older, it had changed. So the problem statement is climate change is one of the biggest issues affecting marine wildlife, followed by human activity. So human activity meaning factories and industrial plants releasing sewage and other runoffs into the waters. Another human activity that affects marine wildlife is hunting and overfishing. So if you don't know what overfishing is, it's basically people that are killing marine wildlife faster than they can reproduce, which can also lead to being categorized as endangered species. So due to all these problems, many marine wildlife get ill and need special treatment in order to survive or need protection from their biggest threats, which is us. So this is a quote from the National Geographic to the right. It says that human activities are threatening the health of the world's oceans. More than 80% of marine pollution comes from land-based activities. From coral bleaching to sea level rise, entire marine ecosystems are rapidly changing. So my solution is voicing my opinion and giving these marine wildlife a voice while educating people about these real world issues. So starting a rescue, rehab, and release aquarium could be the start of a new generation. These animals will be released back into the wild once healed and show major improvements. Today, people are shedding more light about these issues and many have started to act. An example would be just like metal straws and reusable products, which helps immensely, and recyclable and reusable products, which help reduce trash being brought into the landfills, because somehow the trash being brought into landfills get into the oceans. So a little bit about the existing site. The existing site is 8010 East Drive, North Bay Village, Florida, also known as South Florida. So the building type right now is residential condos, apartments with 3 levels, and it has a large lot, so it's perfect. This is another reason why I chose this location, because the aquariums need a huge lot, especially if visitors from outside are coming in. So this is my concept in part T. So my concept was very hard to do because I didn't want to do something cliche like an animal, because I just feel like I just needed to make it much more broader. Like it was too broad and I wanted to narrow it down. So I chose the Earth's magnetic field. So the reason why I chose this is because most marine wildlife use the Earth's magnetic field to communicate, navigate, and to detect precise location of their prey. It works like a compass, and so you'll see throughout the space that the curves of the magnetic fields is integrated throughout the space. So this is a diagram showing sort of a chart of from South Florida to the South Pole, and each bubble is each tank that I explored, and going off of each tank, this is the feeling or the things I was able to come up with, such as like the sharks, which have sharp teeth and they're top of the food chain. Then I wanted the lobby admissions to be large and welcoming. So this is my schematic design. So these are numbered, and this is the a plan view or area view of the entire space and of the site location. So the highlighted buildings are the ones that are my focus spaces. So they're the outdoor dining, also along with the interior dining, with the main shark tank, main tank and the shark tank, the learning and playing area, and the entry and the pond feature. So moving forward, this is the overall floor plan. From left to right, you start off with the manatees to your left, then going right next to the manatees, which is right here. Right here is the cafe dining along with the octopus tank, and these are bathrooms along these edges right here. And this space right here is basically a nursery for mothers who have newborns that need more privacy to breastfeed in public. So moving forward, these are male and female restrooms along with gender neutral bathrooms, giving an expansion of restrooms. Then along here is the main tank and the shark encounter. Then moving down along is the gift shop. Gift shop is basically, what's an aquarium without a gift shop? Like, people want to make memories, so they want to bring something home. And then right across from the gift shop is the sea otters, which are one of my favorite animals because they're just furry, and I just really like them. And I would love to hold one day, so hopefully it happens. So moving forward, penguins, which is a concept from the South Pole, which also goes back to that diagram talking about from South Florida to the South Pole. It just flows out throughout the space, and this is the main entry. So this is the main entryway, and the reason why I wanted to focus on this is because I want it to be different, and I want it to draw people's attention. So I felt like this is one of the ways that was able to draw people towards the aquarium, along with palm trees, because you need to have them. It's Florida. So moving forward, behind this wall is going to be the main tank and the shark encounter. So this is a plan view of the main tank. Right here is it's hollow because you're able to walk through the tank so that you can see it from a different perspective. And off the tank are custom built-in seating, which are finished with KI fabrics, color, and the wind. So this is the main tank elevation. So this, I wanted to add some people in so that it could show some perspective, and also these circles are kind of like previews where you can see the sharks walk by. I mean, not walk by, swim by as you walk by. And then this is the main tank admissions view. So this wall is finished on the other side with grass. So the reason why I chose grass is because as part of the LEED building, I wanted to make this a LEED building, so allowing more greens into the space, and it helps improve the indoor air quality of the space. And right here is the walkway that you can walk through and see the tank from different perspectives. Moving forward to the dining and cafe area. So the cafe area is located right next to the manatees, and this is the key plan showing where the area is located at. So this is the interior FF&E with custom booths along this wall right here, along with, so the way I want this space is to be basically a grab and go, and I want to target this cafe as sort of a vegan because it's an aquarium, and I just want it to be vegan friendly. And basically, there'll be other food options, but the majority of the foods will be vegan. So it's going to be a grab and go type of space. Then along here this is a Renolita wall. So this wall opens up at a push of a button and lets in natural lighting and opens up to the exterior space of the dining area. So this is an elevation. So this wall is custom made. I made this wall to make it with waves, just so that it symbolizes the waves behind the entire building. And also each banquette will have lighting above this above each banquette, just so that it shines down into the the guests sitting down. So this is my dining cafe area, RCP. So as you can see right here, this is wood finished columns that are vertical, and they have recessed lighting, which are canned. And then right here is the flanged lighting, which is the main lighting on top of the entire building. Then moving over here, this is the pendant lighting that was shown in the previous slide. So this is the dining cafe perspective. So as you can see over here, you can see live action of the octopus tank right over here, and the separation of the floors just separate the dining area versus the walkway of the space. So the reason I chose blue, just because the ocean is blue and it brightens up the space more. So this dark aqua blue really gives the space, opens up the space more, and it matches the custom wall. So this is the outdoor dining, another option for those who want to sit at the aquarium, just because it's Florida and Florida weather is beautiful. So I wanted to give some outdoor dining options along with some umbrellas to keep shading available. So this is the Rehab and Learning Center. So this is a previous view of the Rehab Learning Center. Just the brown dot is where originally the Learning Center was, and the blue dot is originally where the indoor playground and the main entryway was just stayed the same. So this is the updated version of the Interactive Learning and Play Center. So the floor is finished with hardwood, along with this flooring, which is the playground, which was flopped, giving it a green finish so that it looks like grass. And these resources are reused and made into these materials, which is another part of the LEED category. And as you can see right here is the Renolita Wall that I added into the space, which allows indoor air quality to flow throughout the space. And then this is the elevation of the Interactive Play Center. So right here, I ended up adding a skylight just to shine more light into the space, along with some track lighting that will showcase the lower level, the books down here, along with the pods, the reading pods for the children. Then the RCP, I ended up choosing a circular pendant for the reception area and a custom built drop-down ceiling that sort of looks like scales of a fish. And that's what I want to integrate throughout the space, and just because it's the ocean, along with the recessed can lighting right here. And moving forward to the perspective of the Interactive Learning Center. So this is a rock wall that sort of brings the exterior interior to the inside of the space. Then right here is this is why I call it the Interactive Learning Center, because children and those who are who are disabled or have limitations can enjoy the rehab from the animals viewing on the other side of the glass. The children can climb up these stairs and safely, because there is a partition in the front and a partition in the back, so it lessens the chance, or it doesn't allow them to fall back. And so I wanted to do a huge thank you to Paul and Abby for everything you have done for me and taking the time to assist me throughout the project. I also have a walkthrough that I couldn't put into the presentation, so bear with me. They're right here. So I'm going to show the Learning Center walkthrough. Sorry if it looks blurry. Can you all see this? Okay. So this is a stroll to the Learning Center. Right through the water. And right here, you will enter the main entrance to the lobby of the Learning Center, and turning the corner is the overall view of the space, along with the playground. And then last but not least is the exterior plus the dining area. So right here is the main entrance. Walking through the pathway, then you can turn the corner or enter through the front doors. You'll be able to see the patio. And this is the manatee tank. And it wraps around to the main entry. And that concludes my presentation.
Great. Thank you so much, Isaac. And Paul, you're not going second. You're going to go first now.
Well, congrats, Isaac. That was great. It really did come together nicely. I think you had a great presentation. You had a big project. Like, an aquarium is a big, complicated project. And I think that somehow you managed to like stay focused and stick to your concept. And I think you did a great job of it. You know, this idea of rehab and this idea of like awareness, and you did it by constantly connecting the visitors to the animals. And I think that that's apparent in everything you did, even in like your, you know, the forms of your ceiling elements and the forms of your wall elements and the textures you chose, and I think the colors you picked, all of it like kind of is reminding everybody about why they're there, what's important to, and what should be important to the people that are here. And I think that that came through really well. I thought you did a great job by choosing in that learning center, for example, choosing the kids and the climber, they get to be exposed to the animals at that point. So like you really kind of focused in each space and thought, okay, how is this going to make the most impact, right? And so I think that that was really successful. And something that was kind of buried in that, you know, or in the whole project, is this idea of these layers. You know, you start when you first come across, like your first thing you do is you make people walk across water. And I think that that's kind of a really awesome first move. Like this like great kind of like it puts you in this place and says, okay, this is the first thing we're going to encounter. This is what's most important. And then you come into that space and you have like the wall, the floor, the desk, the wall with the circles cut in it. And then you have the tank wall beyond. And it just has all these layers of experience that you've kind of pulled apart. And each one of them were different, but they all worked together in a way that kind of brought that space to be like, like I said, an aquarium is a big, complicated thing, but you kind of tied it all together in a way that I thought did a great job of kind of keeping that what was most important is like the connection between the visitors and the animals, and doing it, even though you had, you know, I think one of the things that wasn't necessarily incredibly you know, or isn't common, but except for it is in aquarium design, is this idea of that story and this path. And like you had the diagram in the beginning, and you know, I see that floor plan and I think about how, okay, I'm moving through these ecosystems, these different environments as I move around this space. And I see, like, you know, having lunch with next to the manatee tank, and like you're having lunch, you're doing your cafe thing, but at the same exact time you're connected with those animals, right? And then you move through and there's these different experiences. And so there was a lot going on, you know, even in the spaces that you didn't dive into, which I think was great, because you and I had some big discussions about some big stuff. And I'm glad it didn't stop you from getting to the details, because I think you did a good job of kind of staying focused and doing the things where you needed them to be really, you know, fine-tuned. And I thought it really came together really nicely in the end after a semester of a lot of work. So congrats.
Thank you.
Hey, Isaac, really well done. What an undertaking. Holy cow. That's a lot to think about and a lot to kind of coordinate in one project. I loved all the use of your custom finishes and materials. You had so many custom elements. It really made you like feel connected to the space. And I love how Paul was talking about the layers. Like I hadn't really thought about it in that layered type of way, but that again connects back to your concept of all of these different like magnetic fields and what that creates. And I think my critique of that, I would have loved to see a little bit more connection to that really it's not a very concrete concept, so it's a very like theoretical concept. I would have loved to see a little bit more connection to that. You have a lot of connection to the ocean and to the animals, and I think a lot of this whole experience was connecting the user to the experience, like to the animals and to watching them. And I think that was great. But then adding this other idea of this other concept that was a little bit more complicated. I don't know if that was as helpful, or if maybe even taking it back a step and actually connecting it to the ocean. And I know that was like a really simple concept and like the first thing that came to your head. But if the whole idea is to connect the user to the experience, maybe that first idea that you had would have been connecting it to a fish or to the ocean or to the waves. But I loved the party. I loved the idea of the concept. I would have liked to see it either more or change it. And I think you created an experience here. It's more than just a space. You created what you wanted the people and the users to come away with, which I think is really helpful. And then I liked the lead icons. You did a great job of connecting this design to your LEED certification and kind of pointing out where those LEED icons would be and what relates back to sustainability. And then this was still 3 levels, right? Like when you opened it up, it was still 3 levels?
No, so I basically knocked down the 2 levels and opened up the entire space.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Because those tanks must be massive. And I really liked the walkthrough kind of made it look a little bit shorter, so I wasn't sure if it was 3 levels or not. But great job, great experience. What an undertaking. Well done.
Thank you.
Isaac, I just wanted to say how far you've come since midterm. So I saw your midterm presentation, and it has come so far since then, and you've done a really great job. I think you've been very thoughtful with how the visitors interact with the animals, which I can appreciate, and I think it's great, but you've also been really thoughtful in how the visitors feel in the spaces and the accommodations for them. So you have the vegan options in the cafe, which I think is great, considering you're in a rehab facility for animals. And then also you added a mother's room, which is fantastic, and not everybody thinks about that, but it's very, very important coming from a mother. And I'm sure the other moms here can appreciate that as well. So I think you've been really thoughtful in those aspects too, and also in the details. So you have that custom ceiling that is that's over the desk that kind of has the scales in it, and then Again, we've been going back to what Paul said with the layers of the space, and I love the cutouts that you have, so you can kind of, when you first walk in, you get an idea of what's there, but it makes you want to keep going further and further into the spaces and further into the layers and into like this immersive experience. And I thought it was really great, and I really liked it.
Thank you.
And just to add to what Laura said, I think one of the things that you did really nicely was take each space and make them, they were very different from one another. Like they were very dynamic. And so it wasn't that we were in the same finishes in the same room just down the hall, because I feel like, you know, an aquarium does have these different environments, and those are totally different from when you're in manatees to when you're at penguins, right? Those are not the same. And so it made sense that all your spaces were these like kind of, they were thorough in the way that they were designed within themselves, but they were also not the same. When we got to the learning center, it didn't look like we were in the cafe anymore, which I think was good. Is that it was a good amount of dynamic kind of, you know, design choices you made. So it was good.
Thank you.
Isaac, I thought that you set up your project really well. In your lobby image, which I was drawn to the most, there was something really cool happening up near the ceiling. I don't know if it was like a light fixture or there was like a fish thing happening. It was like circular. You didn't mention it, but I was drawn to it. Yeah. Like what's happening up there and like above the desk?
So this is a lighting fixture that shines. There's a light inside of it. And so these are fishes on the outside, so that when it shines, the shadows on the wall are shown as the fish.
Yeah, I saw that, but you didn't say anything. So I was like, I want to go back and see that again and know more about that, because I think that's a really cool idea and was really strong. And then like the little portals looking through. Like I think my one critique that stands out the most is just like sustainability. I like that you had a few times you pointed it out, like the vegan offerings in the cafe, and you mentioned indoor air quality, but I would have loved to see that even more. Like I want to know, what did you think about with materials? I want to know even more about like the operational aspects of the cafe and the gift store. Like you said, it was grab and go in the cafe, but like, is it still things that are like being reused and washed versus like throwaway things, that we're trying to prevent things in the landfill? So you had like this great setup about sustainability and just got my mind churning about like, what are all the different things you could do to really push sustainability? So I feel like I got a peek at it, but it just makes me want to know even more. But again, from someone who really cares a lot about the sustainable aspects of design, I really appreciate the thoughtful approaches that you did take with your project in that regard.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Great. Thank you so much, Isaac. I'm with echoing many of the comments that we've already heard, especially when Laura said, what a transformation from mid to now. And I actually was going to say, bravo, what a transformation from a year ago to now. You are a totally different designer. And I see Abby smiling because I think, you know, you were like Revit what? And now you're like Revit king. So that you can have a vision, which you've always had when you crossed over from photography to IAD, you still have this passion and this vision, but now you're actually able to create that. And you really have mastered the ideas and creating them. And I love that you took this huge project that you were so passionate about and you chunked it down, manageable chunks, so that we get your concept, we can feel the layers, the concept and the partie. I see it in everything that you've touched. I think you've done a magnificent job. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Heather, last but not least, and I did see Monica. Oh, there she is. Monica sneak in. Hey, Monica, we all introduced ourselves, but you snuck in. Monica's also part of our faculty. But if you just want to do a shout out a little bit about yourself, because.
Sure. I'm Monica. I did both my undergraduate and my graduate at Mount Ida long time ago. I had some of these students as freshmen. So great to see you all, how you all have grown. I work with a high-end residential interior designer right now. Crazy busy, luxury problem, but and I mainly teach the IA101 class, but I also do the residential.
Great, thank you, Monica. All right, Heather, you ready? Okay.
Can everyone see my screen? All right. Oops. Oops. Okay. Did it change to presentation view? All right, just checking. So my name is Heather Dowry, and I designed tiny homes for disaster relief housing. An intro to my project. I chose this because natural disasters can be very unpredictable, often causing people to evacuate their homes quickly. And a lot of people end up getting misplaced after natural disasters. So I wanted to create tiny homes to help alleviate some stress and provide disaster victims with a roof over their heads and a place to call home. So I don't have one location because disasters happen everywhere. And so I looked into two of the hardest hit areas by wildfires and hurricanes because those are two of the more high impact disasters. And the two hardest hit areas are the westernmost region of the country and the Gulf Coast region. And specifically honing in on these areas and where the states that get most impacted, I decided to look in California and Texas. And looking even deeper into both of those states, I found that Sacramento area in California is one of the hardest hit by wildfires, and Houston area is one of the hardest hit by hurricanes since it's on the Gulf Coast. So I chose these two areas to specifically look into and design for. And these disaster homes, there's different housing stages. So there's emergency shelters, temporary housing, and permanent housing. And the tiny homes are designed to be initially used as temporary housing options with a stay of 6 months to 3+ years. But the idea is that they can be adopted to become more permanent housing if desired by the occupants. The concept for my project is a live oak tree. I chose this because new growth often stems from disaster, and in nature, seedlings start out small and vulnerable and gain stability and strength as they deepen their roots. And like a tree, people thrive in places where they can deepen their roots. So providing them with a sense of stability and a place to call home will help to give them more of a thriving aspect. And also there are two different species of live oak trees in both California and Texas. So that's another reason I chose this as my concept. My part T, I first began looking at the rings of the trees and how they represent the tree's growth. And I experimented by removing some of the tree rings and playing with light. And I noticed that it created interesting patterns. And also I looked at the shape and pattern of the branches and how they showcase movement and highlight the portability of the structures and the flexibility of the tiny homes. And for the actual structure itself, one of the precedents I found were these extreme cubes, and they're modular cubes that can be customized with doors and windows and configured in a variety of configurations. And this is what I based my structures off of, is something similar to this. And my modular layout and exploration, I originally started playing with 12-foot by 12-foot cubes, which I call like a bay. And I played with the configuration of those and how they can stack and make interesting layouts. and I decided on showing 3 different versions. So a 4-bay, which is going to be the standard size, an ADA, which would be a larger 6-bay to allow for more circulation and accommodate for their needs, and then a customization or adapted version that could add a 2nd floor. And having the multiple layouts will help to better meet the needs of the varying occupants in their circumstances. And looking at my initial adjacency, I wanted to make sure the living room was central to the homes, with it being the main gathering area, and I wanted all other rooms to kind of branch off from that main area. And some key features I wanted to note before we get into the floor plans. All windows and doors are designed with the most stringent hurricane impact code requirements. So those are implemented across all units so that no matter where they go, they will have those windows and doors. And the siding is going to be fiber cement siding, which is a fire resistant siding. So that will be implemented across all units as well. And some lead strategies I focused on were energy and atmosphere, making sure all of the appliances and windows and doors are Energy Star certified. And throughout the FF&E that you will see, these icons here will show up contribute to the environmental or indoor environmental air quality. And the mindful materials icon that shows up contributes to the materials and resources category. And also all plumbing fixtures are WaterSense certified. So the first version I'm going to talk about is the ADA accommodating version, designed universally to create a comfortable living environment to meet the needs of people living with limitations. And in this plan, you walk here through the front door into the foyer area, and that is open to the kitchen, the dining room, and living room. And from the foyer is the bedroom and bathroom areas. And the QR codes up in the corner show panoramas of different views if you wanted to look at that while I was talking. But so this is a view of the ADA kitchen. It's more spaced out to allow for wheelchair use if the users need a wheelchair. Also, I implemented a lower counter area for ease of use to prepare meals or cut vegetables and things like that. And on the opposite side of the stove area here is a lower down lower than counter height seating area to allow as another area to eat other than the small informal dining room area. And this is a perspective of the ADA bathroom. I provided ample space for people to maneuver if they have limitations and need assistance equipment. There's also plenty of roll-up space under the vanity sink area. And in addition, this bathroom doubles as a laundry space with a side-by-side washer dryer so that occupants of the space can do laundry in-house. And this is a walkthrough of the ADA model. The next version I'm going to be talking about is the standard 4-bay version. So this is the smallest version that is the word I'm trying to think of? Deployed right when they need them. And this model can be adapted as to better fit the needs of the users. And here for this floor plan, you can either enter through the living room area or the kitchen, and that goes into the bedroom and bathroom. And this area on the bottom could be allotted as a patio depending on the placement of the structure and if there is enough space for it. So this first view is of the kitchen, and oops. Okay, this first view is of the kitchen, and the central island doubles as both a worktop and a table space with counter height seating. And I implemented a variety of cabinets in order to maximize the amount of storage space in the kitchen. And also the upper cabinets I made lighter in order to make the kitchen feel brighter and more open instead of having all of them be one color. And this is a standard bedroom, which is slightly adapted and utilized in the ADA version to allow for more space. The bedroom has a dresser and small closet, and that allows for ample clothes storage for occupants. Also not in the view of the perspective is a laundry closet that contains a stacked washer and dryer. So again, they can do laundry in the house. And then my third version is an adapted version of the standard. So this model is designed as a possible adaptation with a second floor and a roof deck patio. And this could be used more later on, like after they've been there for a while. It could be used as a more long-term permanent house if they would like. This is a view of the living room on the first floor. And these slatted walls are actually used throughout all of the models. And I chose to implement them because it nods back to my partie where I took the tree rings out and was playing with the lighting and allowing light to pass through. And actually in all of the models as well, there's this modular sectional sofa that has storage beneath each of the cushions to allow for maximization of storage. And they can also be reconfigured to provide an extra sleeping area if needed for occupants. And over here, keyed is the built-in understair storage that you can kind of see in the back here. And each of the panels open up as a door for cabinet space, and the bottom smaller panels open as drawers. This is a loft space that is on the second floor, and the loft space converts from a lounge area seen here to an extra sleeping area with bunk beds in the Murphy style bed. And this allows for additional flexibility to make it easier for the housing units to be adapted to meet the varying needs of occupants. And this is a walkthrough of the 6th bay. And thank you to Stephanie, Abby, Rose, and Monica for helping me get this project to its completion. Any questions or comments?
Great, thank you so much, Heather. We're going to start with Monica as your external thesis advisor.
Amazing job. When did the people get so realistic? All I remember are like the semi-transparent silhouettes. I love how realistic they are. I think you did a really great job from where you started to now. The 6 bay is my favorite. I think I could move in there and be completely content. Your perspectives are gorgeous. I really like all of the materials that you used. It nods back to your concept, but also brings in a bit of, coziness and clean lines that kind of are juxtapose your concept, but because you have so many different materials and the wallpaper is busy, I think it's important to have those clean lines within the cabinetry and within the function of the space. The walkthroughs are really, really great. I think it brings a realistic aspect to it and will really help users or potential users figure out which unit they want, and what the options are, what the, I can't even speak right now. Can't function. But I think you did a really, really great job. Those are all my notes. I don't have too many notes for you other than it was really great.
Thank you.
So yeah, I thought it was really great. I thought that, there was something really successful about the rigor of your kind of module and your modular thinking. In the floor plans, if you were ever wondering what a dimension was, you could just locate those columns that you had at the 12 by 12 and you kind of put yourself right into the space immediately. And so I think that kind of rigor in that really helped it kind of make sense. And then I think you're thinking to the details of having the modular couch, and having the storage under the cushions. And so like constantly kind of building in the modularity. I think one of the things that I think it didn't come across as a tiny house. I mean, I know that I feel like those 12 by 12 boxes were this modules, but then you pulled them apart, you opened them up, you kind of blurred their edges and their boundaries. They let the floors finish through. And so there's this idea of, yeah, you might be in a tiny disaster relief house, but you don't feel like it. And I think that that's a really kind of a nice touch that you were able to kind of like connect the spaces and the way you positioned like where the couch was versus where the kind of dining space was. And it just felt like one big space. It didn't feel like two things stuck together. One thing I think I'm a little torn about, and maybe I'll just throw this out there to see what people think, because I really don't know what I want, but I think there's something kind of great about the modular thinking. And I think that the way you approached it all was so specific and rigorous that it was really successful. But then when you get to the outside, the materials and the finish, and you just don't know. You have no concept that it's a modular thing. And so I'm torn because that's successful in the sense that, okay, maybe it shouldn't look like it's a modular thing. It should be a full house for somebody. Or do we celebrate that idea of these like individual units like coming together and kind of making something bigger than one can do by itself? And so this idea of, do we display it or celebrate the kind of modular thinking on the exterior or something? I mean, you did a little bit in the materials and where you had the wood slat walls and stuff. So you're kind of always glued back into it on the inside, but never on the outside. So I was kind of curious about that. But I thought overall really well done in terms of like looking at the intricacies of the floor plans and the way the modules kind of work together and work as a big system was really successful.
Thank you.
I thought you had some really thoughtful details in here, Heather, specifically like a couple of people mentioned your creative storage solutions, you're accommodating different sort of flexible layouts. I thought your overall presentation was really, really well organized, and you just had a nice quality to your spaces, kind of like Monica said, like I would live there. Like it was very nice and clean and just like comfortable. Again, I thought like the modular sofa and some of the other aspects were thoughtful. If I had one critique, it might be about like the dining furniture. look, were iconic pieces that are not inexpensive. So I wrote like, maybe think about quick ship products or local products or budget friendly, and mention those kinds of things. Because when you present to designers, we're going to see that and think about that. But other than that, like I said, I think your walkthroughs were beautiful and the spaces looked really nice and comfortable.
Thank you.
That made me laugh so hard because I saw the word planter table and I'm like, when did you sneak that in? Because Steph, what you just said, Heather and I have gone back and forth. She loves to sculpt and design and touch everything. And I kept saying, that's not realistic. You're doing a resiliency, you know, portable unit. But yet part of me wanted to back off a little and let her maybe celebrate some forms of comfort and luxury for people that have lost everything. So there was this sort of like, I get it. And then when we talked and said, well, maybe they will want to stay there and maybe they will want to purchase this. And maybe it becomes in some areas of, we saw New Orleans and Hurricane Sandy, they did keep some of these small structures and customize them. So there were no more implanter tables, though. I'm going to hold you out on that one, Heather. But there were some levels of add-ons and custom. So it's a fine line. But congratulations, Heather. You really touched everything. And you know, it's interesting. I wish Paul's comment about the exterior, it wasn't even on, because you were thinking, and I was working with you with this as your advisor, a modular unit, and it came as is. But as soon as I read it, I could see the timbers go out to define the cube. And it's because it wasn't even in the forefront because you were taking it as a form. But that might be something fun in all your free time now, to sort of explore on the outside as just a different study. Yeah, but congratulations. It really came together really nicely. Good job.
Thank you.
All right, are we good? So we officially finished group 1 of thesis. So that cohort is done with their senior thesis. It's a whole year. Congratulations, guys. Woohoo. Yeah.
Congrats, everyone.
Congratulations.
I know. It's a long year to be working at home and doing all this. Special thanks to all of you external critics. You guys are amazing. We really wouldn't be able to do it without your input, your ongoing support. All of your diverse expertise fills gaps that we just don't have. So that's why we seek you out, and can't thank you enough. When you have a moment, please shoot me an email about Critics' Choice for this cohort. And then you're more than welcome if you want to join us tomorrow, but you don't have to. But there's always an open invitation. And we appreciate your time. So I guess that's it. Unless anybody wants to add anything.
That's everyone.
Yeah,
Really
congrats. Yeah.
All right. I know that group will sleep well tonight. Unfortunately, the other groups probably, I know, they're done.
I was gonna be like, hey, everybody put on your videos so we can support. And they're probably like, no, I'm like not showered, been working on these. I don't want to show my face.
I know. Exactly. All right. We'll see you guys tomorrow at 3 o'clock when we do it again. And we'll go from there. Thank you, everyone.
Good job, everyone.